President Joe Biden has ordered intelligence officials to redouble efforts to find the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. That includes investigating the theory that the virus leaked from a research laboratory in Wuhan, China. A joint WHO investigation has already dismissed that theory as highly improbable. But Biden wants the new intel report to make its own assessment and be delivered within 90 days. Washington says Beijing needs to be more open about the coronavirus outbreak, while China accuses the Biden administration of playing politics.
You know, China wasn't transparent enough. We have been saying that for a very long time, that China needed to provide more access to the lab, cooperate more fully with the scientific investigators, and we don't think that they have met that standard.
This shows that the US does not care about facts or truth and has zero interest in a serious, science-based study of origins. Their aim is to use the pandemic to pursue stigmatization, political manipulation and blame shifting.
Though once dismissed outright, the theory of a lab leak in Wuhan has regained traction in recent days. We'll speak to a leading US virologist in just a moment, but first, let's get some background.
The Wuhan Institute of Virology houses the biggest virus bank in Asia. It's a maximum security biolab. 3 researchers fell ill in November 2019 and were hospitalised with flu-like symptoms, weeks before the first identified case of the COVID-19 outbreak. The Wall Street Journal was the first to publish these new details, quoting a US intelligence report. The hypothesis is that the virus spread to humans after a lab accident. 2 weeks ago, 18 prominent scientists wrote a letter to the journal Science, calling for a new investigation into the origin of COVID-19.
Every laboratory in the world, including our very own CDC and high containment laboratories in the United States, they all have had laboratory accidents. Laboratory accidents happen everywhere there are humans. Humans are fallible. So it's absolutely reasonable to think that some other laboratory also had an accident.
Not least because the Wuhan Institute studied coronaviruses and their transmission through bats. China has dismissed the lab leak theory. It says reports of 3 sick researchers are a lie and maintains there was 0 infection among the Wuhan Institute's staff. After months of negotiations, China allowed a fact-finding mission led by the World Health Organization to travel to Wuhan, more than a year after the pandemic's outbreak. The panel concluded that the virus probably originated in bats and passed to humans through an intermediate animal.
The laboratory incident hypothesis is extremely unlikely.
But some team members complained that they were denied sufficient access to data by the Chinese authorities. Now the United States is calling for a new investigation, one that reaches a definitive conclusion.
Well, for more on this, I'm now joined by William Schaffner. He's a professor of preventive medicine and infectious diseases at the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Only a few weeks ago, a lot of people would have dismissed this as a conspiracy theory. What's changed?
Well, what's changed, Gerhard, exactly as your setup piece showed you, those reports of 3 people, investigators in the laboratory who had an influenza-like illness, could this have been COVID? We don't know. But that has certainly re-stimulated the conversation. And it's really quite clear we, the world's community, should have a thorough and careful, transparent investigation of those events.
But we will only have that if the Chinese play ball, don't we? I mean, how can US authorities find out for themselves?
Well, I'm just a country doctor. I'm not a part of the intelligence community. Maybe those people know some things we don't. But I would hope that we could persuade the Chinese to actually open up, because it is of interest historically, and also because a pandemic occurred. We ought to have a clear understanding of what happened to the degree that we can. We never may be able to pin it down exactly, but we should try.
Well, in your professional opinion, to the best of your knowledge, how plausible is this theory that the virus leaked from a Chinese laboratory?
Well, once again, as your setup piece said, yes, laboratory accidents do occur, so that's plausible. Personally, I think it was Mother Nature. You know, coronaviruses have twice before jumped species, MERS and also SARS, and there are many other viruses, influenza, HIV, West Nile, Zika, Ebola, that come from the animal kingdom and cause large outbreaks among humans. So I'm in favor of Mother Nature, but I have colleagues who are more suspicious about laboratory accidents.
So do you think President Biden is right to set up this new investigation?
Yeah, Gerhard, I think it's the right thing to do. We need to give it a try. And again, I would hope the Chinese participate with us because the world's community would really like, as much as possible, to find out what happened. You know, if we did find out it was a laboratory accident, then under the aegis of the World Health Organization, we ought to go out and institute even better training and more stringent requirements for a laboratory infection control.
So let's say the virus indeed, if it comes out that the virus indeed came from a lab there in China, does that mean that this pandemic just got a lot more sinister, do you think?
Well, the sinister aspect has to do with the question of biowarfare. And this would have been a very dumb agent for a country to use as biowarfare because you shoot yourself in the foot. It blows back on your own people. You cannot control a respiratory virus and one that's so easily transmitted. So I don't think anybody who makes a biowarfare weapon would choose a coronavirus because you can't control it.
So you said it is very unlikely that we'll ever be able to pinpoint this exact origin of this virus. Did I get you right there?
Well, I'm a little bit skeptical. It's been a long time. Who knows what records are gone now? We still don't know whether there will be complete transparency, but I think we ought to try. It's in the interests of history, it's in the interests of good infection control, and we have to remember, when it comes to pandemics, no matter what our political system, we're all in this together. Your people, my people, the people in other countries, we're all subject to viruses. It's the virus that's the enemy. Let's concentrate on working together to keep pandemics from happening.
William Schaffner, expert on infectious diseases at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, joining us from Nashville. Thank you.
Vielen Dank.
Well, that new investigation ordered by the Biden administration has prompted a change in Facebook's policy. In February, the social media company started removing posts that promoted the lab origin theory, and now it has reversed that decision. So DW's Amian Asif can tell us more. So talk us through then the changes to Facebook's policy on COVID-19.
Well, on February 8th, Facebook updated its policy to say that any post that mentioned or claimed that the coronavirus was man-made would be removed. And anybody who violated that policy multiple times could have their account removed. This included pages and individuals. That is not equivalent to the lab leak theory, because the lab leak theory says it also could have come from bats, not that it was man-made. But a lot of times those got conflated, and so you had journalists whose work was taken down who said that this lab leak theory had some weight to it. But then they updated their policy on Wednesday, saying that they're no longer going to enforce this man-made theory, that this needs to be taken off their website. Now, what's interesting is that when they said why they changed their policy, they said, we're continuing to work with health experts to keep pace with the evolving nature of the pandemic. Now, that's not admitting that they were wrong. It's just saying that things change and so does our policy, which is also like saying, well, this thing that we said was debunked is not actually debunked, which in that case would merit an apology, I feel.
OK, so conspiracy theorists around the world can get busy. And the policy did annoy a lot of Facebook users. So what are they saying now?
Well, we found some tweets of people who are actually affected by this. One Twitter user, Ken Blackwell, he said that his Facebook page was punished for sharing this Wuhan leak theory months ago, so much for the fact checkers, so taking on the fact checkers there. Micah said, pretty incredible that we gave Facebook and Twitter the okay to flag all news about the Wuhan lab as disinformation for the last year. Evan Greer points out that Facebook's reversal on this makes it clear how arbitrary and effective these rules can be, even though he says that this could be used by the right wing. And then Glenn Greenwald called for accountability. And someone named New Deal Hawk said this is a lot of resentment to put out there, considering that we still don't know one way or another. So that's a dissenting voice saying, why are we accusing Facebook of retracting this when the truth is that we don't really, the lab leak theory is still pretty improbable. It's just now being considered serious.
All right. I mean, Essie, thank you.